Hello everyone and welcome to the Anime Zilia, and today I'll be giving you my thoughts on Fate Stay Night films Heavens, Feel, Prestige, Flower. That's right, this is the first part of the I think it's a trilogy of films. I'm not quite certain because I haven't seen part 2 yet, but anyway, we're here to talk about part 1. So, a quick summary of part 1. For those of you who haven't seen the film, which if you haven't, then I would go and watch it and then come back to this review. So, a quick summary is that this film is a retelling of the Fate Stay Night series, with a few changes, and overall, a brilliant first part film. Yes, this film may be 2 hours long, and it's only the beginning of the story, but don't let that scare you off, as this is meant to be a retelling, but honestly, I enjoyed it a lot more than the series itself, for the most part. I mean, there are a few things that I thought could have been kept the same, or should have been done differently, but all in all, it was actually a really good, condensed first half. And I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would have. Now, like I said, this video will contain spoilers, so please watch the film first, and then come and join me for my thoughts and some discussion after you're done watching it. But with all that out of the way, let's jump in. So one of the big changes was the fact that Assassin that we knew from Fate Stay Night is actually different this time. In this film, he was working with a master known as Sokenmato, which is basically the guy who is Shinji's father and Sakura's father within this film. He's a creepy guy, but I'll get more into it in just a second. Now, the main assassin for this film is this guy. He's known as True Assassin. And he quickly takes out Castor, and he takes out the old assassin pretty quickly, without hardly any effort. Well, I love the scene where we see Assassin just kind of standing on that big stairs to that temple that we've seen in the series, and he just like sees a flash, and all of a sudden his insides just start bursting. Now, this new True Assassin, after taking out these other characters and servants, she actually has a fantastic battle against Lancer. Lancer is still the same. He's still the I can't remember his name now, but it's still the same Lancer with the slick look, the massive spear, and the outfit. You know who I'm talking about. And basically, the animation in this fight was absolutely amazing, as the action was pretty fast paced and a lot was happening. So I thought maybe we might get a drop in animation quality throughout this fight, but no. In fact, I think it improved, which was actually really good, and I applaud them for that. The choreography for this battle was something else as well. Like the way they were jumping to and from and how they portrayed the characters' moves were all pretty good as well. I like the fact that it flowed from one place to another. It's a typical thing where you see more carnage being created from the good side, even though they're trying to prevent injuries and deaths, I guess. But in this battle of servants, I doubt there is even a good or evil. Now, honestly, I thought this battle was probably the highlight of the film, if you're looking at it from a fight perspective. Because honestly, this film doesn't have many fights in itself, but from a fight standpoint, the film between True Assassin and Lancer was probably the best. Now, not much is known about this True Assassin that we get from this film, as we only really get to see his fighting style, which seemed to be using short daggers, so similar to pretty much every other assassin that we know of. But his noble phantasm seems pretty interesting. It allows him to basically take someone else's heart if he touches them while he has it activated. I love the fact that he's like hiding himself underneath the cloak for his design, and then when he unleashes his like hand, he like wraps up some bandages and it goes like massive. I thought it was pretty cool. This new assassin, he's a lot more interesting and a lot more intriguing than the old assassin. Sorry, but that's just my opinion. Now then, Zoken. In this film, he was a creepy bug dude, and he's clearly being portrayed as the main antagonist, as we've seen him be a heartless old mage, and he would use corpses of heroes that have already died. So the servants like Castor, he unfortunately brought her back using, I think, Rule Breaker. Well, no, he brought her back with Rule Breaker in hand, and then used her to try and fight off Saber and Archer, which in this one is Artoria and well, I can't really say who Archer is because you'll be spoiled if you haven't watched the series, but you know who I mean. Tanned, red jacket, I am the bone of my sword. That's gotta kind of give it away. Now, throughout this entire film, though, we don't get to know his true intentions. Like, we see a scene where Tosaka is basically looking at his sort of training grounds, and it's completely covered in bugs and mess and all sorts of bad diseases. And she's like, this is horrible. This is meant to be a place where mages are training. So we get more hints as to why and what he's been doing, but we don't get the reason. Now, hopefully in the next part they can elaborate on this and kind of make it in. I guess he wants the grail, but we don't know what for. Now, sticking with the Zoken family, Shinji was a despicable human being, just like always, and the same as all of his other counterparts throughout the Fate franchise. And his character seemed to be leaning towards the trash department, in my personal opinion. I just found myself disliking him more and more, and it's not even a good dislike. Like, for example, I've said how I dislike Gilgamesh, but at the same time I absolutely love the character, because you're meant to dislike him. Shinji, I just really couldn't care. If he was on the street, like, sort of dying out, I wouldn't help him. No one would. He even gets to a point in this film where he's basically hitting his own sister. Now, that's a big no-no for me, and Shinji is just utter trash. But speaking of Sakura, this film, she was a bit depressing to watch, in fact. As she was more like a mother figure in this film. As we see her always worried about Shiro, she's constantly doing the housework, and she's always wanting to clean and cook, and hopefully she does something more in this second half, because this character for me is a character that I've seen bits of from different Fate kind of branches, but I've never actually seen her do anything in this film, and that kind of disappointed me a little bit. All she was doing was kind of being miserable or being upset. Yes, I understand Sakura's character is a very deep character. Like, while I was watching this film, I was psychoanalyzing some of the characters. And Sakura, she comes from a family of mages. She isn't like the firstborn, so she's not that important apparently. And she probably feels like she hasn't got much in the way of mage abilities. So she probably feels pretty useless. And the fact that she kept going to Shiro every day to like learn stuff and act like part of a family with the teacher as well probably made her happy, and it probably kind of developed her over time. And yes, I am one who likes character development, but like I said, I found her a bit depressing to watch. And I just expected more. Like, before I watched this film, I actually watched the third installment, so the third series of the Fate Iliasville magical girl type of spin-off from the Fate franchise. And at the end of that, sorry, just going to spoil it if you haven't seen it, but at the end of that, we see a version of Sakura that looks crazy as anything. And she's constantly like hallucinating Shiro's face on everybody. And that's the only and she wants to kill him, but she will always listen to him. Now, I hope something like that comes up in the second part, or in the third if that comes, but I really want it in the second, because I need something to motivate me to want to see this character on screen. Because this film honestly didn't do that for me. And also, I kept thinking that she might have something, or she might be the shadowy figure type entity that we see attacking innocent people throughout town. So by shadowy character, I mean this one. We don't know who this is. as of this film, but it seems to have a very interesting ability where it can make you like hallucinate to lots of things. It's almost like in Full Metal Alchemist when someone like tries human transportation, they kind of see like everything and it makes their mind go funny. This is kind of the same ability, but it's not. If that makes sense, it just shows you so much and it drains you of everything and eventually it tries to kill you. Now, I thought about that for Sakura's character, and now I kind of think something else. At the end of this episode, we see Ryder come back after we see Saber take her out. Ryder comes back, but is Ryder now a servant of Sakura? Because Sakura doesn't seem too worried when Shiro comes back at the end of this film. Like, of course, she's upset that he's injured and hurt, but she seems more relieved than anything. So, maybe, just maybe, she might be a master, because we know Shinji is no longer a master by the end of this film. Just something to think about. Now, Rin is the same in this film. Gilgamesh is the same, although he's only in this film for like 30 seconds, and yet he still triggered me a little bit, because Gilgamesh has just got that annoying personality that you just love to hate. Elia was a playful girl in this series. She's always targeting, film even, she was always targeting Shiro for a possible revenge or grudge or something. And she's also the one that kind of triggered Saber a little bit. So we'll speak about Saber, shall we? Saber... Do I go with Saber first or do I go with Shiro? We'll go with Shiro. Saving Saber for a minute. Shiro in this film. Now, I'm probably going to get a bit of stick from this, but Shiro seemed a little bit suicidal in this film. He was constantly getting himself into near-death situations. Now, before I go on, I want to clarify, Shiro is not suicidal. I've done a video and it basically means he has survivor's guilt, which can kind of trigger to people to have more value in others than themselves. And this is just a clear example of this, but saying that he was acting suicidal and has those type of tendencies was just a little easier way of me saying that, basically. But I've already said it, so why dilly-dally? But he constantly got himself into more near-death experiences, and this is what really got me. He jumped in the way of Berserker's attack to shield Saber, sending himself flying through the air. Like, this guy got mangled. And I swear I saw some of his inside, like, guts and that leak out. So that's just one example. Example number 2. After being told that if he dies, his servant will die, because after he gets hit and knocked, gets absolutely destroyed by Berserker, he gets told by Rin, look, I know you're trying to save your servant, but if you die, she dies as well. And then Shiro basically jumps into the Black Shadow's attack to save Rin. Okay, so that's number 2. Is it normally 3 strikes and you're out, or is it 9 lives if you're a cat? But Shiro then basically went to fight Zoken one-on-one. And then he tries to fight the true assassin. And bear in mind, this is a Shiro that can only trace and enhance at minimal level. If this Shiro basically enhances or traces an object too much, he'll be in extreme amount of pain and the stuff will just snap. Its concentration is no way near the ability it needs to be at this point. He cannot create swords, shields, anything like that. So most of his time, he's fighting with a hard bit of wood. That's right, I said it, Shiro is fighting with hard wood. So honestly, this is a character that is extremely outmatched, extremely kind of, I want to help everybody, apart from myself. So this whole hero of justice thing they keep throwing around, it was nice, but at the end of the day, it's probably going to get him killed, and we're probably going to get that elaborated on as we go on. Because there was this whole kind of stigma of Shiro, whether or not he was fit to be a master. And I know that was in the series, but in this film, they kind of hammered that home within the first film. This being part 1, of course. And by the end of this film, we actually see Shiro go, I wasn't ready, but I will be. Bit late, buddy. Or is it? So then, Saber. Now, let me tell you a bit about Saber in this film. After watching this film, I saw some comments of people hating on Saber's character, as she was for the most part useless in this film, and I agree and disagree. This version of Saber / Artoria is not the one that we know. But this Saber in no way, shape or form was a bad version. Think about it. She has just been reminded of her previous master in the Fate Zero series, but the last Holy Grail War that she participated in, Ilya tells her that, you had my father. And then she finds out the story about herself being forced, and Kiritsu being forced to destroy the Grail and betray the war itself. Now Saber so desperately wants this Holy Grail. And again, like I said, she was forced to destroy it with a command seal. And now she's having to be put back into this fight once again for the Grail. So you probably think, well, she's probably happy she can. But she's been put back into it with the son of the man that betrayed her last time around. So this obviously wouldn't sit well with Saber's character. Saber probably would be a character that probably just gets on with it and doesn't really care. But she knows this information and is niggling at the back of her mind. Now, we know that Saber is already guilty about her role as being King Arthur. The reason why she wants the Grail is so that she can go back in time and stop the Sword in the Stone process and never become king. Because we've always seen her stand on that sort of mountain with swords and people, bodies, everything piling up, and she's upset. She wants to erase that from history. So if you add on this guilt, plus the feeling of shame from the last Holy Grail War, then this would be enough to make any character fight poorly in that mental state. Saber was not mentally ready for another Holy Grail War, and she was not ready to learn all this information at once. Which is a bit of a shame, because we do see Saber fight pretty decently. Okay, fine, she failed against Berserker, but Berserker is a powerhouse. You need to have all the concentration and all the wits about you to fight Berserker. But she managed to defeat Ryder pretty easily, like it was almost one punch. And then fighting against the True Assassin, she didn't do too well, but it's set up for something brilliantly. Now, all of Saber's inner struggles that I've just spoken about was building up to her alternative self being revealed. So in the next part, we should be seeing a dark version of Saber. And honestly, I'm very happy for that. Now, we get to see another example of Saber's desperation by the end of this film in order to obtain the Grail. And this makes me excited, because I want to watch the second part now to see if this alternate form comes out and just absolutely bodies everybody. That's just something I do definitely want to see, because when she's like scrambling towards the Grail in this like hallucination sort of state, she turns around and her alternative self is like, just give up. Just do it. Just give up. End it. And then hopefully that entity takes over. Because I want to see in the next part a Shiro versus alternative Saber fight. Honestly, I think at this point Shiro would be absolutely destroyed and decimated. But hopefully we see Shiro develop and grow as well, because he needs to. Now, the characters that disappointed me the most in this film was Archer. This guy literally doesn't do anything throughout the entire film. He's injured due to a fight that happened off screen, and if I had to guess, it would be the fight against Lancer. But at the same time, it's pretty poor showing from Archer's character. All the other characters in this film, yeah, they were pretty decent. There was a few parts and a few not so good parts. Like, I think it's Kotomine, the church guy now, who was the master of Lancer. He was pretty cool. He basically just became the narrator of this film, but we should see some more from him because Gilgamesh is still around, and I guess the scene where they were eating marble curry that was spicy, I don't really get it, but I guess it just showed a bit of character from both Shiro and himself. Okay, moving on. Now, one thing that I didn't particularly like, apart from Shinji, was the English dub. Yes, I made the mistake of watching it dubbed. And I just don't like Shiro's voice actor. All the other characters were okay. Some were good, others were just tolerable. But the main character sounding bad really did hinder my enjoyment a little. But this is just a personal sort of gripe that I have. I just don't like the voice actor that does Eren, Kirito, and Shiro, and loads of other voices. He's a decent voice actor, but the voice just annoys me because all I can hear is, "I'm gonna kill them all," or Kirito's voice. I can't distinguish his voice from anybody else like I can with other voice actors. It just sounds the same. But that, again, is just a problem I have. Not a problem with this film entirely, but if I was you, I would actually watch this film subbed if you can. All in all, this was a fabulous film, with some of the best animation quality that I've seen, and the pacing of this film flowed really well. It wasn't rushed, and things seemed to kind of be in the right place at the right time. Like, there wasn't anything I saw in this film where I was kind of like, hold on a minute, that's out of place. Why is that there? Like, for example, I said that we see the old assassin and Casa get taken out, but if you look at the series, those two being taken out is kind of like near the end. But at this point, none of the characters, apart from probably Berserker or Gilgamesh, are at a point where they can go one-on-one against these two characters. So it makes sense that the true assassin comes in and just kind of destroys them and does what he needs to do with the black sort of grail entity thing that's in the lake that we see throughout this film as well. The new thing that was rushed was the summoning of Saber, but honestly, we've seen that so many times that it's actually a good thing that that was rushed. I'm pretty glad that they didn't like make that big and drawn out, because that would have taken a big chunk out of the film in itself. But the fight scenes in this film were a little bit lacking. I mean, like I said, we had the good highlight with the True Assassin versus Lancer. We had Saber do a one-shot thing. We had Ryder come in at the end and kind of help Shiro out. But apart from that, the fights weren't that brilliant. But hopefully, coming up in part 2, the fights will kind of be a bit better. And almost every other character had a good moment in their own little way. The music was fantastic in this film. Sound effects were always on point, and the two worked nicely together. What are my top 3 hopes for this film? For the next film? Darksaber's Rampage. Gotta have that. Wanna see it. Something interesting with Sakura's character is my number 2 hope for the next film. And number 3, Gilgamesh. Please, please, please do not kill Elia again. I can't handle that. In Fate Unlimited Blade Work, seeing Gilgamesh jump down, slice Ilia's eyes, and then just like continue to like decimate her was horrible. After watching the Ilia spin-off Fate series, it's just gonna hurt even more. So Gilgamesh, please don't let someone else do it, because there is a scene in the preview where Gilgamesh is like, "Girl, I would run before you die." I'm like, no. Anyway, this film was well worth watching, and I can't wait to watch the next part when I find it. Let me know what your thoughts on this film down in the comment section below. Let me know what you hope to see in the second part as well, if you haven't seen it already. If you like the video, dislike if you dislike, subscribe if you're new so you never miss a video from me, and I'll see you all next time. Goodbye for now. That was a long review.